Jake Sanderson scores his first career overtime goal. Ottawa Senators beat the Washington Capitals 3-2. Welcome to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and, of course, the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure you check out the Glebe Central Pub right in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street, and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. Don't forget to get your tickets to the shuttle April 13th, next Saturday. Final home game of the season. Sens have $17 round trip to and from the GCP, where the vibes are absolutely free. I'm Ross Levitan. That is Brandon Piller. Pillsy, how'd you see this 3-2 overtime loss to Washington play out?
Well, this was definitely a much more lower event game than the Ottawa Senators had been playing good, but that's a positive because it seemed like all the events that were happening in previous games were from the opponent. So it was good to see the Ottawa Senators kind of have a more tame, calm game. They stick with it. They're able to tie things up, get it into overtime. And Ross, we were taking a double check at this in overtime. The Ottawa Senators had possession of the puck the entire overtime, 41 seconds. However, Washington gets a stick on it. But other than that, the Sens had the puck the entire time, and a great high hockey IQ play by Jake Sanderson to get the winner. So really, no complaints here. I mean, I guess you could spin zone it. You'd kind of wish you don't get the 2 points, and maybe, depending on who you're cheering for to get in and out of the playoffs, if you want to screw over Detroit, you probably don't want to get the 2 points. But we'll take a win here. We're going to soak this in. We don't get many of these, and we're not going to get many more as the season is almost done here.
Well, 41 seconds isn't quite the 2 minutes and 5 seconds that the Senators held on to possession before beating the Detroit Red Wings on January 31st in that high event game. But I'm with you. This one, not a whole lot going on, especially early. Of course, the Sens, as is tradition, give up a goal in the first 2 shots. That's 4 straight games, 21 total. I'm sure you're sick of hearing that number over and over again, but it is worth mentioning. Finally, some extra context from it, thanks to our friend John Perlberg, who works with TSN. The most this season is Buffalo one more time. It's going to be a sprint to the finish between Buffalo and Ottawa for who will allow more goals on the first 2 shots. And we also got some more clarification. It's 20 games, 21 times, because in November in Ottawa, the Senators allowed a goal on each of their first 2 shots.
By both goalies.
No, was it? No, was it?
Or what do you mean? How?
The Senators, it was 2-0, 2 shots in.
Oh.
So the Senators in 20 games have allowed a goal on the first 2 shots, but in one of them, they allowed 2.
I was like, how is that even possible? The Sens find a way. Wow.
That is Sens find a way. But look, Korpisalo settled down after that. He made some actually really good saves in the third period. I thought the right kick save from a slot opportunity was pretty impressive. But really, the intensity in this game picked up during the first power play Ottawa got in the third period. Max Pacioretty takes that. And the Senators, I felt, went to work and generated momentum. Didn't get a goal, but I thought that kind of set the tone and set the pace for the third period. And from then on out, credit to them. Ridley Gregg gets the goal. Beautiful play from Shane Pinto on the entry, and then setting him up on a little tic-tac-toe give-and-go situation with Eric Brandstrom in there as well. Good to see for that. I'm glad that he got a goal, and hopefully he can keep that rolling, his 13th of the season. But yeah, Jake Sanderson. Oh, we didn't talk about how there was that S on the side of Milestones. Yeah, this was Sandy's first overtime goal. Also, it's double digits in goals, which is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, he gets to the 10-goal mark, and that's something Sandy mentioned. He wanted to emphasize this season as something to improve on from his rookie year, and he's done a good job of that. And it was well-timed, that goal. Like, sure, maybe you're looking at it and you're like, he just chucks it on net there. No, that was done exactly at the perfect time to have Brady cross Lindgren and then have McMichael planted right in front of Lindgren. He doesn't even see it. It's in the net, and he's like, well, I didn't have a chance on that one, and Sandy's already celebrating. So love to see that from the sophomore defenseman here.
How much credit are you giving to Brady Tkachuk to take away the goalie's eyes, too? It looked like a moving screen as the crisscross happened at the blue line. I was watching the college basketball today, and it was almost like Brady set a bit of a pick to get a switch for Sandy to open up ice. He ultimately then curled back, opening up more time for Brady to get down to the net, and he took away Lindgren's eyes. I think he deserves a ton of credit on that goal.
Big time. And that's one of those like unofficial assists, right? Sure, Brady doesn't touch it. He doesn't set, or did he get an
gets one.
assist secondary?
Secondary assist.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm glad he got an assist, maybe not on the screenplay, but in general, he did get one there.
Everybody on the ice get an assist for Ottawa.
Yeah, we love to see that. And the Senators have done a really good job recently, Ross. I'm not sure which part of the coaching staff has implemented this, but it's been effective, at least from my vantage point, is where they, especially on 3-on-3, but they do it on the power play a lot too, get the puck, someone starts switching. And then they can either decide to drop it for them or keep going. And then you just have guys cycling, because what that does is it's like you're saying, Ross, it's almost like those basketball plays where you try to catch guys up switching the lanes, they bump into each other, doesn't pick off the next guy he's supposed to cover, or his zone gets collapsed. Now all of a sudden you freed up some ice, and if you're a guy with the hockey IQ and the skating ability like Jake Sanderson, all you need is a split second or two of open ice and you can make a really dynamic decision, and that's what he does there on that OT winner. So great job by the Sens, possessing and keeping their feet moving.
Sens most consistent player all season long, Jake Sanderson, gets rewarded, gets that nice double-digit number in the goal column this year. He's up to 35 points on the season, had 32 last year as a rookie, and the sky's the limit for a guy who's still playing on his entry-level contract. He's going to be a special, special player. How much did he get? Obviously, he's a huge part of the PK and being on the top pair. Jake Sanderson led all Senators skaters in time on ice tonight, 25:05. Next closest, his partner. Not a surprise.
Zoop,
What is it's almost a 4-minute gap, Pilsy, between the two guys. Sandy was out there quite a bit in all situations tonight. So good to see him get rewarded. He also, while we're on the topic of Jake Sanderson, he did the same thing he did in Winnipeg. Didn't result in a goal like it did against the Jets in the third period. But did you see the power play where he kept it in 3 separate times?
Yeah.
To create extended zone time? Like, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's just one of the many things he does well too, not just the skating, but I find at the line, I'm much more confident in Sandy handling a bobbled puck, handling a puck that's, maybe on the boards on his offside. Like any of those things, he just makes me so confident that he's going to find a way to slow it down and maintain it, that it's really impressive to see from such a young defenseman. And I've loved seeing Jake Sanderson here. And Ross, that Sanderson and Zub are going to get a lot of that ice time in a game like this. It's a tight 2-1 game, not a lot of offense, but you're keeping those guys on to shut down the Capitals' high offense players like Ovechkin. You want Sanderson and Zub on the ice there, so they're going to lead in ice time whenever it's a close game like that, and especially when the Sens tie it up, you don't want to lose that lead. So those are the two guys to have.
No spoilers, but Jake Sanderson might be mentioned in the next segment, our Sens Central standouts.
Possibly.
But before we get to that, let's quickly go through how the scoring happened. We discussed. We don't have to go back to it. The fact that the Senators allowed a goal in the first 2 shots. But you know who got it? Max Pacioretty, who you laughed at me the last time these two teams played. I had him as my lookout player. You said, Ross, he's got no goals on the season. Didn't score in that game, but he does have a knack for getting them against Ottawa, going back to his days with Montreal. So Max Pacioretty opens the scoring just 4.5 minutes into the game. It stayed that way after the first period. Pilsy, beautiful play from Jacob Chychrun in the center of the ice to turn over the puck and go down. Great feed, opens up more space. And Mark Kastelik opens the scoring for the Ottawa Senators. What'd you see on that goal?
Yeah, it was really good play all around. And look, as frustrating as we seem to be, as Jacob Chychrun seems to be, rather, he does have moments where he's able to show some really good skill. And offensively, he's been a decent player for the Sens. And I was really impressed with that move, Ross, because what Jacob Chychrun does is bring the puck in, and then he draws 3 Capitals towards him because he's so tight. And they're like, okay, if we just collapse him, he's going to get pressured and he's going to turn this over. But he's able to spot Casti coming in, dishes it over him, and then Casti brings it in towards the slot and a nice backhand up top. That's a nice, pretty goal for Mark Kastelik. And if you give him the opportunities, he has shown he can prove himself offensively. So the bottom 6 and guys like Casti, Kelly, Kachuk, like these guys have really popped off lately. And that's a nice sign for them, as pretty much all of them. Well, no, does Kelly have one more year on his deal?
I believe so.
Okay, so Kelly and Cassidy, they got another year on their deal, but for Boris Kachuk, the way he finishes off this season, whether it's getting a contract with Ottawa or with someone else, these could be a big part of his next contract negotiation, how he finishes off these last couple games.
Parker Kelly is a restricted free agent after this year.
Okay, so big deal for Parker Kelly as well.
I think he's probably in Jacques Martin's good books based on ice time that we've seen this year and who's been covering a bit more than their averages under DJ Smith. Parker Kelly, 1349 tonight. He had the secondary assist on Catholics' 5th goal of the season. Now, offensively, Chychrun looked great. Defensively, probably wants to have this battle back with Alexi Protas. It's kind of a rim around the boards. He takes it on his backhand, playing the left side, may I add, and loses the battle to Protas. That gets an extended offensive zone time for the Capitals' 4th line. And it's in the back of the net. So Ottawa then ends up trailing with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in the second period. Not quite a momentum goal we talk about, Pilsy, but obviously not something you want to do after allowing your team to go ahead. For the first time all month, man, they hadn't had any leads, obviously, since the win we saw in Winnipeg.
Yeah, that you're talking about the second goal, right, for the Caps?
Exactly.
Yeah, so the thing that was tough on that goal, Ross, was Corpy makes a nice save on it, but I almost feel like, and Noodles kind of talked about this, I almost feel like it hit like a chunk of his chest protector because it bounces the wrong way. Like the angle that it hits Corpy, you think it's going to bounce this way, but it comes in and then bounces kind of right back from where the shot was taken. So that throws everybody off. Chychrun is facing the other way, trying to watch his man protest in front, like you're talking, and he's not able to find that bouncing puck. And unfortunately, the Capitals get it, and they're able to bury that one quickly. So that's one where, it's a weird bounce up by the puck there, but you'd like Chychrun to already be tying his guy up anyway, so it doesn't matter where that puck ends up.
That's how the game was after 2 periods. Senators come out in the 3rd period as a team that had 4 wins when trailing after 2. Their last win was when they were trailing after 2. But for the Ottawa Senators, tonight it was the right line, I think, that was able to put this game back on track and tie it up. Ridley Gregg, Shane Pinto, those 2 guys are both probably playing a little higher than they would ideally do, especially when you have now Stützle out day-to-day along with Norris. So nice to see those guys gain some confidence with some offensive zone time, and Eric Brancher made an awesome play there too.
Yeah, I thought Brandy had a nice game too. He was
he's like end of the year god. Every like last 20 game stretch, it almost always coincides. I know he played tonight, but with the Shabbat, when he misses time, Brandy elevates, and usually in those higher leverage minutes, it seems like he plays better. Just maybe not built to be a 3rd pair guy.
Yeah, we'll find out. But Branny and his agent are probably having some of those arguments because Branny also an RFA after, I believe his deal was an ARB deal, right? Or did they solve it right before ARB?
I believe they solved it right before. Yeah, him and JBD both got contracts on July 1st. Remember, it was a $2 million 1-year deal. It's probably like, all right, why are we going to fight over 50 grand? Let's get the 1-year term and regroup. And yeah, I think his agent's been loving the way Brandy's been playing.
Yeah, and is he going to be kind of the game changer that we had hoped he would eventually develop into? Probably not, but Brandy does have some nice skills, and I wouldn't be too upset if they brought him back here. Depending on it, it's going to be interesting to see if he has any kind of trade value as well, if they go that route.
And well pointed out by our guy Eric in the chat tonight. Eric Brandstrom with that assist, 19 points, passes last year's total. So that's a career high, 19 points. So this year is a career year as well. Milestones all around.
Huge.
Who's next? Brady goals needs 1 more to tie. Maybe that's what we're looking for in Florida, where the Senators will take on Nico Mikkola and the Panthers. Boko Imama, I'm sure, had at least some sort of knowledge this game was coming up after the way that Ottawa was pretty much just bullied in a 6-0 loss. But they played the Panthers well in Sunrise earlier this season. Pilsy, they got that OT loss where, yeah, you wanted to, but still felt good about the way they played. But tonight it's a 3-2 win over the Washington Capitals. Caps, by the way, 7 straight games without a win. They're 0-4-3 in their last 7. Every time a team gets into that playoff spot, first it was Philly, then Washington.
They don't want it.
Detroit, whoever gets it, Islanders, Then they just have a 3-game stretch. Devils got close a couple times. Then they fall out. There's like a force field around the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Some great games coming up in the final week and a half of the regular season. Some great Send Central standout options tonight. We know that Jonas Korpisalo has the helmet. Who's he going to give it to? Those conversations are coming up. But first, a word from our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is the place to be when you're looking for a night out, whether it's with friends, family. Good times are always had at the Glebe Central Pub. I love going to their website, glebecentralpub.com, before I go hit in the events, go see whether it's trivia night, whether it's live music. There's always something going on at the Glebe Central Pub. They're also huge Sens fans, so they make sure that not only are the games on TV, obviously, but they've got the Glebe Central Pub shuttle to and from the CTC for only $17. Can't afford not to. Have a great time with Sue on the bus. Takes you to and from the CTC. Hour and 15 minutes before the game, the bus leaves, and it will bring you right back to the Glebe Central Pub, where the vibes are free at the GCP. Make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel is the official online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And we love FanDuel because they're the best. It's that simple. They're the best sportsbook in North America, number one. That's why you should use them if you're looking to use any of the sportsbook apps. FanDuel's is the best. It's safe, simple, secure, easy to use. That's where I go when I want to put some shekels on Brady Tkachuk shots, whether I want to do some parlays, get into the March Madness as that's coming to a close. The Masters are coming up here. So if anyone has any hot Masters tips, let Ross and I know. MLB is in full swing. Basketball is getting close to the playoffs here. So there's so much going on in the sports calendar at this time of year. So make the most of it with FanDuel. And if you're a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200. You can bet on March Madness, baseball, basketball, hockey, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, North America's #1 sportsbook.
Welcome back to the Postcast presented by Locked On Senators. We are your team every day. Lots of great content coming up here as the season is only 5 games away from mercifully finishing. But that's when the work's going to really start for Steve Staios. There's going to be a lot of changes. And you watch games tonight, like there's potential with a lot of guys in that room, but it's one of the sports where you need the most buy-in for success. How many games this season? One mistake or one instance, whether it's special teams, goaltending, or certain individual plays, the Sens would be right in this race because nobody wants it. I think I'm more frustrated, Pilsy, that in the West, look, Nashville deserves a playoff spot, and they were kind of teetering on the bubble for a lot of the year, right? They had that huge streak. They're in. They were the last to obviously be in, maybe LA, but now there's such a gap. And that, if that's what was going on in the East, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Like last year, wasn't it 20 points or something in the East from the last spot? Just nobody wants it, and Ottawa can't even give themselves an opportunity. You don't have to be a great team to get in the playoffs. Like they're not that far from.
You would hope, Ross. You would hope they're not that far, but statistically,
then there's other
in the
nights where
standings, they are very far from the playoffs.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. It's just Anyways, it's ridiculous. There's gonna be so many changes made. I believe. I think, and we'll have plenty of time to discuss that on the Locked On Senators podcast. But it's the Postcast 3-2 win for the Ottawa Senators. How'd you feel about danger flutes with 6 games left when you've lost 3 straight and you're just kind of playing the string?
It didn't feel as good as we hope and dream danger flutes should feel for Sens fans, right? That was like, even though this is a win, Ross, I feel like this is a fine cast. It's not quite a vibe cast. It's not a tank cast. It's not a vent cast. This feels like a fine cast to me. So danger flutes felt a little too exuberant for the occasion here.
What you can give them credit for is the Ottawa Senators are bringing emotion into these games, like some of them at least. Like the last, anyways. I guess I'm more so looking at Brady and kind of like, because there are some guys around him that maybe haven't been. So I shouldn't speak that confidently when I say that. But I do have a Sens Central standout for you tonight.
Hit
And
it.
if you want, do you want to just kind of omit Jake Sanderson? I feel like we basically can call segment 1 the Jake Sanderson segment here on Locked On Senators Postcast, because he was the star of the game, scores the game winner, first career OT goal, 10th goal of the season. Love that after only 4 last year. So he wanted to shoot the puck, and he did.
As long as, Ross, we make it very clear that Jake Sanderson is both of our number one Central standouts. I don't want people looking back at this and they're like, neither of these guys had Sandy as a standout. Come on.
I'm sticking with the Nodak sense, Pilsy. I thought Shane Pinto, after a few games in a row that maybe could have been a bit smoother, again in a high spot, number 1 center in the lineup the last 2 games, he was awesome tonight. He was just the type of player that I always go back to what Pat Micheletti told us years ago, Pilsy, on this show. The kind of player you want out there in a 1-goal game, whether you're up a goal or down a goal. And he had his best hockey in the third period. And then, I love the way he set up the goal, the zone entry, the assist, everything about Shane Pinto tonight was all class. We look at those graphs after the game too. Top player for the Sens tonight there. No surprise. And the eye test gave that away too. I loved what we saw from Pinner tonight. I think he was sharp. Was he? Let's double check this before I make myself look silly. Won about 50% in the dot, but 4 shots on goal. Had a great opportunity late in the game from the high slot. There was traffic in front of the net, and he was set up. And I like Pinto's game. If he can play like this for the last 5 games, I think that'd be a great sign of positivity to take into the offseason. But I know it's not the difference between us saying he had a good year or not. He's up there. We talk about Sanderson as the guys who have brought it most nights. But I want to shout out Shane Pinto's play tonight.
Another guy, Ross, that could benefit from finishing the year off strong. Contract year for Pinner. So you love to see that from him. Ross, I'm going to go with the second line center. Then you had the first line center in Shane Pinto. I'll take the second line guy, number 71, Ridley Gregg. I thought he had a great game. That goal he was able to score. He's in the right place, right time. Follows that play thoroughly. Pinto was a part of that play as well. And in 18 minutes and 11 seconds, he's a +2. He finishes with a 71.4% success rate in the dot. And Ross, Ridley Gregg, he needs to get going here. As before this game, in his last 27 games, 4 points in 27 games. So now,
did anything noteworthy happen 28 games ago?
Wait, is that where? No, I didn't cut it off there. I cut it off right before Toronto, because he scores in Toronto and Columbus.
Right.
I'm cherry picking.
Oh, is that is that the game? No, that wouldn't be the game in Toronto. That was the game here. That was the game that he scored the empty netter
against Toronto. Sorry, but he played Columbus in between there as well. But
okay, so but right around that time.
Yes, right around that time. Yeah, so he needs to get going here, and we like to see Ridley Gregg mix in goals and assists here, especially with no Timmy, no Norris.
Yeah, I think that's a great guy to shout out. He won't be 22 until August 8th. This, to me, is kind of like a stepping stool year from him, right? Last year, super raw, only 2 goals in 20 games, and kind of like had that, not the like, I don't want to say Bambi legs, like, you know how Brady, when he was 18, like came in, like you can tell there's a ton of potential, but these guys are pros every dayers.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ridley, he was just getting steady on his skates last year. This year, there's been times where it's like more the ebbs and flows. He's hot, he's cold, he has moments. Next year, I think we're going to see a third-year full pro play night in, night out, and be kind of more impactful in how he's imposing his will on the opposition.
Well, the key to that, Ross, will be a consistent role, right? And that's the same thing Shane Pinto had to battle through. He's more appropriately on a third line, Ridley, but he's had to go up and down the lineup, winger, centerman, different line mates. So I just think he needs to find that comfortable spot. I'm hoping next year he can play third line left winger alongside Pinto, and they got to find a guy. Maybe it's Matthew Joseph that plays there. They got to find someone to have that line consistent, and he has to know his role night in, night out, so that he can develop a routine and build on certain things rather than be thrust all over the lineups and have his kind of responsibilities always changing on him. So I think that'll help improve his development too.
The Ottawa Senators, 3-2 winners tonight in Washington. They win the season series against the Capitals 2-1. 3 games played this year. The other win was just when we were as delusional
Oh
as
yeah,
can be.
times were good.
The third straight win, Pillsy and I helped the team take off with back-to-back home wins after, of course, losing the opener against Carolina. And then we thought we left them in good hands. A 6-1 win over Washington where they just beat the wheels off of them, but each team had won on their home ice, and now Ottawa gets the first road win in tonight's game. Any other players or moments in this game you want to shout out, Pillsy?
I mean, it's kind of crazy we've gone this far without talking about it. People in the chat have been talking about it. The sunlight shining directly in Corpy's eyes. That, like, I don't know if that I've ever seen that before from an indoor game. Like, sure, the outdoor game in Lake Tahoe, yeah, they were dealing with the sun. You get that at some of those games, but like, it was literally like it was like meth when he was on our show, and just the sunlight,
Yeah.
he's literally glowing, and he's like, "Sorry guys, what was that?" Like,
Oh,
just
that
like,
would have been a great clip to put out side by side. Maybe I'll still do it.
there's still time. There's still time, but just like so hilarious that this is the NHL, and like the refs got to like point to an usher in the 300s, like, "Hey, close the blinds up there! Like, you're ruining the game!" Like, oh my god, that is wild. It made for a cool visual though, like Corpy's gold mask just glittering in the basking in the sunlight was pretty cool, but not what you want in an NHL hockey game inside.
It's not what you want at all. That's a great moment to bring up. The one I'll bring up is I had never seen this strategy before. Spencer Carberry called a timeout to see if he wanted to challenge in the third period. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess the only reason why coaches don't do that more often is they're so good at bullshitting and then milking the clock and getting that time anyways that they don't feel the need to do that. But like, I don't know about you, maybe the video guy was in the washroom or something. Like they weren't prepared for this because they had Sonny Milano was like going nuts and nuts on the iPad. He looked like a 7-year-old with his iPad at dinner time, just going crazy trying to figure out how to find this replay. And that's what Carberry was really focused on. Like usually it's just an assistant coach kind of with his shoulder up talking into the mic, like, "Yep, okay, you got that. You guys are looking at it. All right." But like this seemed like it was Sonny Milano was the video coach there. So a bit of a miscommunication or unprepared from the Washington Capitals there. But luckily they decide not to challenge it, Ross, because I don't know about you, I thought that was offside.
You think it was? I didn't think I saw any angle that was like that, the down low side. I kept seeing the one from up top.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were looking for, was for that angle to be available, and they couldn't find it because it was the guy trailing that his skate is dragging behind, and it looked at least close enough to make it interesting.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting game. I will say that for the entirety of it. I got to be honest, I was having trouble getting up for this one, being a back-to-back. Obviously, they fight last night, but come up short, and it's a 3-game losing streak. It's just like mercy. But credit to the Senators. After giving up the first goal and falling behind, they were able to step up and put out an entertaining performance. So another strong tank loss. I'm so sick of saying and talking like this, Pillsy, but it's the only way to get through when there's not much else to be looking forward to.
That wasn't a tank loss.
Oh, my fault.
Wow. Ross just went into full Ottawa Senators default mode right there.
I was lucky.
Hilarious.
You know why? Because I'm setting up Tankathon for us, and that's awesome. They
won the game, Ross.
I know. I was on Tankathon and I hadn't hit refresh. That is hilarious.
Oh man, that's just where we're at. If in doubt, if you're sidetracked trying to do two things at once, just talk about how the Sens lost.
It's amazing. You know who did lose tonight, which is what I should have been talking about, was Montreal, which now they're 5th. That's hilarious. Make sure to hit the refresh before you use your words. So Ottawa wins tonight 2-1. Sorry, Jake. You did score. Your 10th of the year.
Attaboy.
We've only been talking about it for 25 minutes.
It's okay. Happens to the best of us.
Arizona also wins tonight. So the Senators are now firmly in 7th. Arizona in 6th, and Montreal loses. They've lost 3 straight there in 5th. So my dream of Montreal drafting before Ottawa because the Senators finish ahead. Did I do that right?
Yep. You got it.
I don't want any filler teams. If it's going to happen, I want Ottawa drafting directly after
Directly. Yes, correct.
So I'm actually going to be pretty upset if we have a filler team in Arizona. I don't want Montreal, Arizona, Ottawa.
No. Although, Ross, maybe if that did happen, we'd be blessed with trading up or down in the draft. Like, imagine it's not that way, and then Montreal trades up or down to select right in front of Ottawa, and we get that anyways. Because that would add even more intrigue. Because then it's like this is the guy you banked on. So we'll see how it happens. The NHL draft, if you're like dialed into all the intricacies and like where guys are supposed to go and which teams are looking at which players, like it's so fascinating to see how things actually shake out, because it's never anywhere close to what we think and anticipate is going to happen. There's always some curveballs and wrenches thrown into it. So thrilling television, and it'll be even better having boots on the ground in the Sphere.
One of the hot takes you had before the season, we are going to roast our own hot takes once we get there. But no, this is completely different. It's funny for a different reason than the other ones will no doubt be. You said the Senators would trade one of their first round picks, that they had two. You thought it was going to be for a rental, for a buying situation.
That is what I thought.
But you still could nail it if they used their draft capital to either move up or down.
I'm kind of still down for that, so I'm not against that take, really.
I love it. Any final thoughts, Pilsy? It's a 3-2 win for the Ottawa Senators tonight. I have a final thought afterwards as well.
Final thought for me is thanks everyone for being in the postcast. This has been a good, fine cast. We're making our way through these last couple of games here, and the Ottawa Senators, did they win or lose this game, Ross?
Dude, people in the chat remind. Apparently, I said at the start of the show too. So there's a little Easter egg for you if you noticed at the start of the show.
I didn't pick up on that one. That's hilarious.
So that's my D partner letting me slide through the cracks.
I'll take a -1 on that one. Yep.
I was so excited to start the postcast. I feel like it's good to come in with energy and talk about something that happened. Because, I always ramble on and we love the Glebe Central Pub. They help us out so much. So obviously we're going to shout them out right off the top of the show. But I wanted to get, the excitement of Jake Sanderson's first career overtime goal. Yep. I wanted to get that out there. And I guess I just went back to my 3-game skid.
Talking about an overtime winning goal in a loss.
Yeah, exactly. Because then, oh man, let's rock and roll. I want to give a shout out to Anthony. I feel like this show is going to become a sub unboxing because we did the bobblehead, but I saw Anthony is here, so we just want to give a awesome shout out. Anthony B got us a little 1,000 games, 1,000 episodes, so we appreciate that. Pilsy's got his as well. So
you know what, Ross? I think that's nicer than the one John Carlson got tonight. So thanks, Anthony. That's better than John Carlson silver.
And he got the putter too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see the putter. That's cool.
Yeah. His teammates went all in on that. So I guess that's when you don't want to go as high as a Rolex. Is that it? They're like, oh, we got you a lot. Like, I don't know. A putter can't cost the same as a Rolex.
I don't know the cost of a putter like that these days.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Yeah, you're not a golf guy at all. On the best of days. Guy. Martian's our golf guy. Martian was red hot, by the way. We saw the comments.
Yep.
People loved Martian's hot take on the Florida game. So if you missed that, go check it out. Senators win in overtime, 3-2 the score. Jake Sanderson gets his 10th goal of the year, leads the team in ice time, and just continuing to establish himself as a premier defenseman in the National Hockey League. We'll be back tomorrow on Locked On Senators. Senators heading to Florida to rematch the Panthers. So we'll tee that game up over the next couple of days. If there's any guests you are looking to have on the show, we'll have about a 2-week period where we're going to eulogize the Sen season, and then it's all draft all the way to the Sphere in Vegas, where the Senators will draft in the top 10. I say that with assurance. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat tonight. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been a postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast, and of course, our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. Go visit them at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. Now, for one of the final times this season, let's ride out the Danger Flutes.